Hi there. Are you ready for the new normal? What is new normal? The world is talking about new normal at an increasing frequency as the days go by. And I, Babuji Janagarajan, your RJ for the great Indian monologue in Radio Udon, am going to entertain you, enthrall you with some details about what is this new normal all about. When things happen, when they happen first time, we make a note. When the pattern is repeated, then we think, this is a normal thing. And then when an exception happens, I would take an example. Imagine a village where, people are all high jumpers. If everybody in the village is able to jump around, 3 meters, then the normal is 3 meters. And then if a guy, comes from another village, who was able to jump 5 meters, he is considered as an exception. What happens is, sooner or later, the local villages, with the idea of the possibility that, we can also do this, 5-meter jump, they all try hard, and at some point in time, they all start jumping 5 meters, and this 5 meters becomes the new normal. Right? This is on the positive side. But what is happening now is totally on the negative side, an unwanted side, and this podcast is all about that. Last week, New York, the biggest city in economic sense in the financial world, almost the financial capital of the world, which is based in United States of America, was reeling under floods. The subways were inundated, cars were floating, and life was chaos, for a few days. Reason? Unprecedented rains, storms, and whatnot. And for the first ever time in the popular narrative, this event has been dubbed as the new normal. Going forward, these kind of rains and storms will be occurring regularly. So please, folks, get used to it. This will be the new normal. So don't be alarmed. Just, when I finished reading this and started contemplating about the new normal, the news hit me from some other regions of the world. Closer to home, Sikkim. In our Himalayan region, Sikkim, it has experienced a glacial dam burst today. A lot of people dead, mostly military people, and a lot more people are missing. What is a glacial lake and why it burst? A glacial lake is a lake which is formed by the melting snow up in the mountains, which is collected in a trough-like area at the bottom, like peak and valley. In the valleys, where we have a place, suitable to hold the water, it forms a lake. So far, so good. These lakes, they are functioning for a very long time without any problem. But of late, what is happening is, when the snow is melting because of global warming at a much faster rate, at the same time, some drastic weather events, they cause a thing called cloud burst. Imagine a huge cloud of rainwater bursting all of a sudden over our head. What would happen is tons and tons of water would pour down from sky in a flash, and whatever place is receiving it, it will have difficulty holding the water because it wouldn't have been a planned area. If you can receive say 1 lakh liters of water due to rain in a rainy season, and all of a sudden in a single cloud burst we receive about 2 lakh liters, then whatever is the catchment area, the glacial lake, it overflows, and in the worst case it bursts. That is what essentially happened here in Sikkim this year. But this also reminded me of a very sad event which happened most recently in our Himalayas, where a hydroelectric dam, up in the Himalayas, I think it is in Uttaranchal or Uttarakhand or wherever it was, really high up, it was also burst because of cloudburst, and the devastation took about 200 plus people's lives, right? And the world, instead of addressing these kind of anomalies and doing some kind of corrective measures, it is now branding these events as if this is the new normal. because it knows the cost of rectifying, the cost of doing a course correction is much bigger from a business and economical point of view, and it is also very much aware that we have crossed that point of no return, which means these kind of unpredictable weather events will keep happening at much higher frequency. It would be drought, unprecedented drought in the United States of America, wildfires in Spain and bushfires in Australia. Any given day, if you take a look at the atlas, the map of the world, it is a very sorry place and a very scary place because something is burning somewhere, and some places are underwater and some places are really scorched dry, and in some other corners of the world, people die without even having access to a single meal. And the larger narrative, which is slowly seeping into the global consciousness, is this is a new normal, so don't be alarmed. What do we do then? This becomes a game of money. Those people who have the resources to protect themselves better, they would be able to do essentially that. And those people and countries which are on the poorer side economically will suffer, right? Only recently, Pakistan had unprecedented floods. A lot of people died and farmlands wiped out and crops died. And this pattern keeps repeating, either in Africa or in Italy or in Greece and Spain. You get that idea. We know very well the reason for all these events, and we all want that, we all want and think that somebody else will come and fix our problem, while we are the ones who created this problem in the first place. Global warming, pollution, unprecedented ecologically destructive business practices, greedy businesses, they are causing more and more agony to our peaceful and beautiful earth. Now, the world body, it meets, once in a while, and it fixes up some target that, we should not allow the earth temperature to rise beyond 1.5 degree by 2050. And if we do that, then a lot of species will die and so on and so forth. But, whatever goal they set for 2050, it looks like we already breached them in 2020s and 2030s. Last week, the head of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, he made a fervent plea, asking countries to set aside their differences and political agendas and do something really meaningful to help Earth heal. Again, this is a misnomer. Earth doesn't need our help. We need to help ourselves to continue living in this beautiful planet. If not, all the best. It will be a lot more flash floods, forest fires, droughts, landslides, earthquake. And by the way, there was an earthquake yesterday in a region very close to us, and another earthquake a few weeks back, and so on and so forth. So if you take any particular natural calamity, I wonder whether we still continue calling them natural calamities, because these are not natural, these are all man-made. At some point in time we will realize that we hold the triggers that cause these events, and we still escape calling them as natural calamities, an act of God, a wrath of God, or whatever. Well, it is the wrath of humanity brought upon itself in the name of greed and mindless consumerism. So my dear readers, my dear listeners, my dear viewers, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you are in Sikkim region, I hope you stay safe. And if you are in any other part of the world, watch out. The new normal is really not a new normal. It's very abnormal. It's going to cause a lot of damages. And every one of us, I repeat, every one of us must pitch in to do our part to avert this kind of a global catastrophe. If you don't look at the big picture, if you just take India and if you see some forest fires here and a dam burst there, and then you move on to Spain, again a forest fire, and then you move on to Italy, there is flood, and then you move on to some other island, there is an earthquake, and then another island, there is a volcano erupting, you won't feel much of a threat, because you would in all probability see them as standalone events which affect a particular region. But if you take a look at the whole world, this is what I said on the atlas, the map of the world, any given day, if you look at it, which parts are burning and which parts are underwater and which parts are under severe drought, you would really be scared and scared and scared, because this is the new reality. This is not the new normal. I would like to use the word new reality, which is very, very, very scary. And as any citizen of the world, whether you are an Indian or a Malaysian or a Pakistani or a Zimbabwean or a Hungarian or a Russian or an American, we all have this singular power, the power to vote, to set the right terms. And unfortunately, generations have failed, and the youth of the world, youngsters of the world, they who are going to inherit the world from us are really scared or really angry, and they are the ones who are making most noise. But unfortunately, they are minority yet. And the larger world, the money-powered, business-driven world, it is trying to ignore the noise that these people have created, but it has reached a crescendo in the sense, in European Court of Justice, a bunch of youth have put up a case accusing the developed world for causing harm to their earth. And it is going to be very interesting how this case is going to play out and what will be the verdict. But I know the verdict, and you know the verdict, and you also know what you and me as individuals ought to do. May the force be with you, my dear friend. Let's do our bit, because this is the only home we have, called Earth, and we are all united. We are all one in the sense, we are all human beings. So forget the racial differences, the geographical boundaries, the cultural differences, and so on and so forth. Either we stand as one and succeed, or we ignore as one and fail. The choice is ours. Best of luck. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Great Indian Monologue. I'm signing off. Your Ajay Babaji Janakarajan. Wish you a truckload of health and happiness. Till we talk again in a week's time. Stay blessed.